Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move over here to the PowerPoint. We're going to be talking about cost behavior and forecasting. Now, what's really cool is you've already done this in a previous chapter in managerial accounting. So this should just be review. So let's go ahead and let's start moving on down. So, okay, we're going to talk about fixed, variable, and mixed cost. You guys already know how to do that. Remember when we do the high-low method, that's the easiest way to figure that out. We could also go in and look at scope and determine which one is going to be the fixed and how much is going to be the variable. And so we'll look at that as well, probably. We're going to look at the resources and activities and the relationship to cost behavior. Explain how several methods of cost estimation can be used, and separate mixed cost into their fixed and variable components using the high-low method, the scatter plot method, and the method of least squares. That one's the hardest, just FYI. Okay. You can do some of this using Excel and taking advantage of the formulas that are already built into Excel, just FYI. Okay, so we're going to evaluate the reliability of the cost formula, explain how multiple regression can be used to assess cost behavior. Multiple regression is also a statistical analysis. Recognize nonlinear cost behavior and discuss its impact on cost forecasting, and discuss the use of managerial judgment in determining cost behavior. You didn't know those little suckers had behavioral problems, did you? Well, they do. So let's figure it all out. Okay. So normally they want us to break out into groups, and they want us to talk about fixed cost, variable, and mixed cost with examples. I'm not going to do that because you're not here with me. So cost behavior. It's described the cost changes when a level of output changes. So we know with variable costing or with variable cost that the price will increase in regards to the output. So as we increase production, the variable costs are going to increase. As we decrease production, the variable costs are going to decrease. Fixed costs remain the same no matter what level of production, and mixed cost have a component of fixed and variable combined. I have, let's say, a lease. You can go and you need to pay $250 a month to lease a vehicle. But if you go over 15,000 miles in that month, then actually let's not make it 15,000. Usually it's between 12 to 15,000 miles a year. But let's say that you go over 1,000 miles a month, then anything over that 1,000 miles, you're going to have to pay it like 45 cents a mile. So up to that 1,000-mile marker, it's fixed. After that, it becomes variable. So those are some examples right there. Cost objects. That's, the objects are what we want information about. Okay, manufacturing, merchandising, it's a tangible product. For service, it's going to be that service which is intangible. Okay. Activity drivers. So you've heard me say drivers. What drives the cost? What drives the cost? And so that's basically what we're looking for, is those drivers is what drives that cost. For example, if you have labor, what drives that cost? Well, it's the labor hours. Let's say that you're putting something together and it's mainly produced using machines. Maybe machine hours is going to be my driver. So that's what we're going to be looking for. You've got general categories, the unit level drivers and the non-unit level drivers. And we'll look at that in just a moment. There's a real world example, and you can read that on your own. Here's our fixed cost behavior. It doesn't matter. If we increase production, that fixed cost is going to stay the same no matter what. Okay, here we go. We have speakers for home audio systems. We produce voice coils. There are two production lines that can make up to 100,000 voice coils per year. One production line manager is paid 60,000. So for that 100,000, it's going to I mean, it doesn't matter until we get to here, and then we're going to step up and add another supervisor. So here you can kind of see the cost. If we produce 40,000, 80,000, 100,000. As we produce more coils, the cost per unit decreases until we get here when we have to step up and add a second supervisor. And then you can see as we increase production, the cost per unit decreases. Okay. My variable cost behavior changes as the production changes. So if I'm producing 50,000 units and I increase to 100,000 units, my variable cost is going to increase, obviously. And so you can see that happening here. Okay, cost behavior and its role in forensic accounting. So these estimations, if it was, okay, so you've heard me talk about it in managerial accounting. When we start talking about absorption and variable income statements, and you saw back here with the fixed cost, the more I produce allows me to decrease the production cost. Okay, because I get to spread that fixed cost over much more units. Well, that's a way where people can cheat the system and they can end up getting a bonus because they brought down the product cost. However, all they did was just create a bunch of inventory. And so it was fraudulently obtained. So that's something for you guys to think about. So cost behavior is used in determining whether a liability exists. So they're talking about how it plays a role in the court's ability to intelligently and fairly resolve case issues. And so they're talking about income measurement, cost estimations, income tax considerations, and incremental accounting analysis. And then you also have some disputes here. And they're talking about whether liability exists because of the behavior and if you can actually even attribute damages. Okay. There is a non-linearity of variable cost. And so you can see as we get higher, there could be a very large error. Okay. Mixed cost. You've already done mixed cost. High-low method is the easiest one to use. And I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I know one of them is scope. And you'll see me use that measurement. And I'm going to go pull up Excel and have some fun with it. So I need to figure out how am I going to determine how much of this is fixed and how much of it is variable. And so let's see if they're going to give us anything right here. I don't want to know about that. Oh, they're not showing me what I want them to show me. Okay, so I don't know when they're going to do the high-low method, but I just want to remind you what it looks like. So I'm going to open up Excel. And so again, I'm going to put in here, these are my units, and I'm just going to make up some data, okay? There's nothing relevant about this. You're not going to find it in your textbook. So I'm going to say 100 units, 250 units, let's say 200 units. This is going to be the month. And I'm only going to do 6 months worth of data. So this is going to be January, February, March, April, May, and June. Okay, so let's go 300, 350, 275. Okay, so I've got some nice amounts there. And so now what I'm going to do is say, okay, what is my cost? And I'm just going to, again, I'm going to make them up. So I am probably going to come up with a weird number. I don't care. My point is reminding you what's happening. Okay, so let's go 85,000 here. Let's go 75,000 there. Okay. 350. Okay. And 275. Okay, so that's going to be, let me go ahead and just bring that up here. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to format that because I hate looking at it like that. So we can see my cost and we can see the number of units. So I'm going to go find my high. Which one is my high? Well, my high is going to be 350 and 120. And my low is going to be 100 at 50,000. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my difference. That's 250. And that's going to be what? 50. That's going to be 70,000. Okay. So I'm going to take that 70,000 and divide it by 250. Okay. So that's going to be my variable portion, okay? So let's see how that looks in our little problem here that I created. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, actually, no, don't do that to me, computer. Just do what I want to do. Okay, there we go. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're going to look at this. I'm going to make a nice little line just to remind us that we've got some difference there. Okay, so we're going to look at fixed. We're going to look at variable. And here's my total. Now I'm only going to look at my high and my low, which is this one here. I'm going to make it a nice pretty yellow. And this one here. Do not do the rest of them because it'll just make it look like a whole big old huge mess. And it won't come out as pretty as this one did, okay? So my variable, so I've got 100 units. Multiply by 280. Okay, down here, I've got 350. Multiply by 280. Yay! Now, what's my total? My total is going to be 50,000. This one is 120,000. Now, this better work or I'm going to get mad. And it's going to work. So I'm going to take that 50,000 minus my variable cost. And I'm going to get 22,000, 120 minus my variable cost. I get 22,000. So basically I know that the fixed portion of this is going to be 22,000, where the variable portion is going to be $280 per unit. So, and I just double checked myself. If I went and did this to all of them, it would, the rest of it would it wouldn't be nice and pretty. And so I'm going to come over here, and if I go to more functions, intercept and slope. That's what we're going to use when we start looking at some of these more complex. So let's just remember that, okay? I knew it was going to be there. So let's go ahead and minimize that. Okay, so our resources. We got activity capacity, which, making sure that we have enough resources, and that includes having enough room in the warehouse or having enough time. Practical capacity is your normal capacity where you're going to be able to do everything comfortably. And then unused capacity is the difference between our total activity capacity and our practical capacity. Okay. So here's some resources, flexible. And then we have committed. Okay. So that's some really cool information there. Wow, I'm already at 22. Okay, here's a real world example, and I'm going to continue on. This is our step cost behavior. So notice here, okay, this is our activity output. Now we're just trucking along at the same level until we meet that 20. And we can no longer operate at this capacity, so we have to do a step. So just like that example they gave you way back here. Where's that one? Right here. Nope, that's not it. There it is. So once we hit 100,000, we have to go in higher. And we want to produce more, we have to hire another supervisor. So that's a step. Okay. So here we keep going. Okay. Step variable cost. Step cost behavior with narrow steps. Step fixed cost is that following step cost behavior with wider steps. Activity rate is our average unit cost, and you already know how to figure that out. Activities and mixed cost behavior. Utilities is a big one because you would probably have to go in and you have a standard amount just to have the utility account, and then you also have the energy that you consume. And so that's going to be, you're going to have that fixed portion and you're going to have that variable portion based on how much electricity you consumed. Same thing, I mentioned the automobile. So you can go out and you can lease a vehicle and they give you so many miles per month to have. Whenever you exceed that, you're going to have to pay per mile so many cents. Okay, they have some right there. We're going to click through there. And industrial engineering method. It's forward-looking. Determine what activities and what amounts are needed to complete a process. We're probably going to have some studies going on. It's used for manufacturing. And we can take the processes that we have already created or we can take this methodology that we've already established and apply them to new processes. So we can estimate by our fixed, variable, and mixed. Okay, polling activity. The industrial engineering method is judgment-based and can be easily applied to new processes and designs. Yes. Quantitative. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm really tired and you guys all have to forgive me for my goofy humor. So in here, cost as an equation for a straight line is y equals f plus vx. Y is our total cost. F is our fixed variable multiplied by the measure of output. Okay. Okay, so you see, intercept corresponds to fixed. Slope corresponds to variable. It's just really easy. But for the life of me, I always have to do it backwards whenever I create this in Excel. And I don't know if it's just because that's how I have to do it or what. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go right here and I'm going to open up the more functions and I'm going to go intercept. And so what I'm going to do here, it's my known y's. So I'm going to come up here and I believe I got to remember exactly how to do this because it's not something I do except for once a semester. And just to show managerial accounting, so I don't even show you guys. So this is going to be my fixed portion. Let's look at my variable portion. I do the same exact thing. So I'm going to come up here. So that was my intercept, see? Now let's do the slope. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to get my more functions. There's my slope. I'm going to go ahead and hit that, my known y's. I come up here. I go backwards. I don't know why. And then right here, okay? And there is my variable cost per unit, okay? My high-low method was 280 at 22,000, but if I want to be very precise, it's really going to be 267.40, and that's going to be my fixed portion. Excel is going to calculate it for me and make my life nice and beautiful. And you saw how totally easy that was. Now, if I really wanted to get into this, I could also go in here and I might have to actually add something because data analysis. Okay, so let's see if I can find it down here. It's going to be multiple regression. Do we have a multiple? We just have a regression. And so we'd have to do a regression. So here we go. We have some statistical tools, and I can go in here and I can put input Y range, input my X range, and I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And see, I have this beautiful little statistics right here. And I've got some numbers in here that I just don't even like looking at. And it's going to give me, so look at that, 267.3973. Same thing right there, okay? So that's another way you can do that. But then you see a bunch of, this is all about statistics. You can even graph it if you want to, okay? And again, I just made this up. Okay, so let's keep going. Whoops, you guys don't want to know about fraud, do you? Okay, so I just showed you that. High-low method, I've already showed you. The scatter plot. I used to be really good at this. Intercept is a fixed cost, slope is a variable rate. Assesses the validity of the assumed linear relationship. It allows for a visual graph, identifies non-linearity, outliers, and shifts in the cost relationship, lacks objective criterion for choosing the best fit line, subjective in nature. Now, I believe, if I can remember correctly, and if I saved it a long time ago, many, many moons, like one of my first years when I was here, I went ahead and, ooh, Robin Brown is sued by creditors accused of stealing stuff. I wouldn't doubt it. Ooh, we like that new one. Okay. My channel. My videos. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to look for should be in 212. So you can come over here to my playlist, and in one of my 212s, we're going to see, let's see what my playlist looks like. It's the goofiest thing. It was made a billion years ago. So let's go ahead, back to channel content. So we know it's not 20. No, it's not going to be that one. I want to say it's not going to be 20. Where's my playlist? I have more playlists than that. Oh, that's because it's only showing me. Okay, I know it's not 17. I know it's not 16. I just want to see the playlist. It's got this goofy, stupid. It's got the most ridiculous looking. It looks like a honeycomb on it. And so if it's in here, it's going to be, I don't know why they don't put all of it right up the front. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Everybody's going, man, she likes to make the videos. Okay. I don't have it in here. Okay, I'm gonna have to go find it. So basically it's this honeycomb, and I take you through Excel and I show you how to make that scatter plot. That's my whole point. So I'm going to have to go find that and then show you guys how to do it. Okay. So the scatter plot is very visual. And so here's the data, and you have to also have your Excel set up correctly, because it can't just be, you can just magically do it. You have to go in here and you have to have the add-on. And I can't remember if it's in this one. I know it's not in formulas. Insert, let's look at a graph, equation symbol. It might be over here. So, okay, you could probably, I think you're going to be able to make a scatter plot over here somewhere. Okay, so I just kind of want to tell you guys that. It's not that hard, except if you can't remember how to do it. Scatter. Okay, so you can make this scatter plot and just have everything sitting there nice and pretty for yourself. I just clicked on it real fast. I haven't even gone in here and selected the data. It just did it itself. I'll show you how to do that later, I promise. Okay, so that's what it looks like. And then you're going to draw a line up in here so it shows the linear relationship. This is an outlier. That could be considered an outlier too. Okay, this one is getting better. It's much more closer. You want these plots to be closer to your linear line. Okay. Method of least squares. Difference between the predicted and actual cost shown by the distance from the points marked in the scatter graph to the best fitting line, which is that line that we were talking about. Measure of closeness. So again, you want this as close as possible. Okay. Oh, good. It looks like they're going to show you how to do it. Okay, using regression programs. There we go. See, remember I kept saying, I know there's more to it. I need more. I need more. Okay, choose data analyst option from the tools menu. Not available. Choose add-ons and select analysis tool pack to add the data analysis. Click on regression, input the Y range, and then input the X range and highlight the independent variables column. Choose preferred location for output and hit OK. And so here we go. The cost per our moves. And you already saw me do this. So that's gorgeous, right? Except theirs is prettier than mine. So interpreting the results under the coefficients. So where's the coefficients? So we got the multiple R squared, adjusted R squared, square, standard error, observation, regression, residual. This is the ANOVA portion of it. You got the intercept and the X variable. There's our coefficient, standard error. There's a t-stat and a p-value. Okay. So what does it mean? Under the coefficient at the bottom left, find the intercept and the slope, write the equation. Use the equation to make a point estimate at a total of 300 moves. Total cost is predicted. Okay. Why is it a good method? Because you can actually visualize it. That's why. Okay. Reliability of cost formulas. Statistical assessments concerning the cost formula's reliability indicates whether the parameters are different from zero. You got a goodness of fit and your confidence intervals. Goodness of fit is annoying because that's the one I'm not really that great at when I start looking at that. Okay. So I'm going to do something really fast. Remember when they were talking about the confidence intervals? So when they're looking at those confidence intervals right here, they set it up at 95%. Okay. So when you go and you run your reports and you're going and you're checking that confidence interval, normally you're going to use a 0.9 or 0.10 and a 0.05. What is that going to do? Well, that is going to tell me, it's going to give me a level of confidence that the information I input is relevant. So if I choose a confidence interval at 0.10, I can 90% believe that my assumption based on the data is true and correct. 0.05, 95% assumption that my data is true and correct. So that's what that means, okay? So it's kind of fun stuff there. Yes, I had to work with this when doing my dissertation. I had to make assumptions and I ran these, and like I said, I did not get the results that I was anticipating. In fact, um, I actually determined that my assumption, my hypothesis was incorrect. However, I did find information in regards to the types of financial statement fraud being committed by different organizational culture types. The four being um, hierarchy, adhocracy, market, and clan. So I judged basically the typical behavior that you see, and those are your four main types of organizational cultures. Anyhow, one's more likely to commit a fraud, manipulating their assets, versus one is manipulating their revenue, or another one that is going and misstating their liabilities. It's the types of fraud, financial statement fraud that were being committed uniquely was one was more likely to commit this type of financial statement fraud versus this type. It was really interesting, especially since I wasn't right. Okay, T-stat test is the hypothesis. The parameters are different from zero. P-value is the level of significance achieved. P-value of 0.05 or less is needed for significance. Okay, so again, the confidence interval. Okay, so let's go look at that P-value. I saw it in here somewhere. Okay, there we go. Is that significant? Darn it. So basically my p-value is significant. That's good. Goodness of fit measures. Okay, percentage of the variability in the dependent variable explained by an independent variable. Always has a value between 0 and 1. Adjusted R squared is used R squared. Value has been adjusted for the number of variables included in the equation. Okay, so we're going to look for the R2. Right here. 0.976. Oh, that's a pretty one, isn't it? I picked some good numbers. Coefficient correlation, I already talked about that one. Standard errors, sometimes you have errors. It tells how tightly the data points cluster around the regression line. Small standard error indicates that the regression line is more closely approximates the data. Larger indicates the opposite. So you want that best fitting line. You want a nice, pretty tight fit. Okay. Multiple regression. Used whenever least squares is used to fit an equation involving two or more independent variables. And here we go. Adding another independent variable might increase the explanatory power of our model. Performing the regression is very similar to simple regression. Ooh, that's pretty, isn't it? So let's look at that multiple regression. And so we're going to get this information here. So basically, this is really hitting pretty fast and hard. I don't think you have to do QBA. And it's all statistics. And so what the book is trying to teach you is how to read these and whether or not it's relevant. Okay. Now, again, my best bet is to do everything in Excel. A learning curve, that's what we have right now, right? Shows how labor hours per unit decrease as units produced increases. Experience curve is related to the increased efficiency because people know what they're doing. Incremental unit time learning curve model decreases by a constant percentage each time the cumulative quantity of units produced doubles. So basically, you are going to have additional learning curves as we start increasing more and more production. Okay. And they have that right there expressed as a percent. So let's go check that out. Here's my relevant range. More relevant range. This is fascinating. Don't you just want to go in and start working in Excel on this? I know it just kind of makes me kind of feel happy about it. Okay. Managerial judgment. Okay. Your judgment is always qualitative based on your own personal experience. Okay, I'm trying to get rid of oh, there's the self-assessment and the summary. And that is it. Now I'm going to make a couple more videos. I'll probably do that I'll probably start doing it tomorrow so that I can start showing you homework in your Excel because I know these are some concepts that are kind of very new to you and much more complex than you see in managerial accounting. So it's easier for me to work a problem and talk about that problem than it is for me to do it on PowerPoint and go, blah, 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 because we're just looking at a PowerPoint, whereas you saw me mess around with this and I could do it so much easier by just going in here and working it in Excel and getting this information and pointing it to you, going, hey, go here, go here, go here, go here. This is what this means. This is what we're looking for. So let me do that for you guys to help explain this topic. And I'm going to go ahead and end this recording. And tomorrow morning when I get to class and when you guys are going to start working on this, I'm going to add some more videos for you. And let me go ahead and click on the ending. I'm going to